All right, friends, let's see if it works again. Every week we are shocked that this actually works.
And
So
sometimes it doesn't.
we're also
It's fine.
we're actually less shocked when it doesn't work.
Correct.
So let's see if this is going to work here. Let us know in the chat if you guys can see us, if you guys can hear us, if everything is as it should be. Auburn is giving us a thumbs up off camera. I cannot believe once again that it worked. You guys were super excited for today. Love seeing so many of you guys already here. Looks like we're already at 36 people waiting for us. So thanks, friends. You guys are always so supportive of us. Today, Sherri,
Yes.
is going to be exciting.
Yes, it is.
When we started doing these Instagram or YouTube lives, sorry, I'm so used to going on Instagram live. When we started doing YouTube lives, one of the very first topics that we thought it would be cool to talk about was the experience of working at Disney.
Right.
However, neither of us have that experience.
Correct.
Right? And wait, what? Okay, that sounded like you were teasing something.
I would like to.
You would like to work for Disney someday.
Yeah.
However, we don't have that experience, but some friends of ours do, and they were super, super gracious and willing to come on with us today. Their names are Cameron and Laura, and I'm going to bring them in here. Fingers crossed. Hopefully, Cameron and Laura, let's see. Are you guys here? Did I even unmute your mic?
We are speaking. Hello.
Yay.
I
This is
think
where we are.
everybody. So just a little bit of history, just so you know, we first got connected on Instagram. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, to be technical, Laura's been watching you guys for like a year, I think.
Since our last Disney cruise last year. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And then with the experience I have both from Disney and other places, I decided that the best way to be a fan is to be friends. So we then reached out directly and ... we're here.
We're here.
Welcome.
I have a rule that I'm only friends with people with beards, and your beard is glorious. So it was a natural friendship from the first photo I saw. I was like, personality doesn't even matter. Look at this guy.
To be fair, one, my beard is my personality, and two, I have a light musk of, I believe it's like a cedar wood coming from it right now because I'm wearing an excellent beard oil that somebody made. I don't know who.
Always be plugging. That's right.
Right.
That's so funny. So today, just so people know, conversation really is going to be around your guys' experience at Disney, what it was like. This is something that Sherri and I are just so fascinated with. To be honest, like when we go to the parks or when we go on a cruise, we love the experience. But one of the things that makes the experience so great are the cast members. They just add to the magic. And so for us, we've always wanted to have this kind of a conversation. So we just want to thank you guys in advance for being willing to just be bombarded by our dumb questions today.
Weirdly, it's not something we get to talk about a lot simply because we still live in Southern California and we are still friends with mostly Disney people just by virtue of us having worked there and having a great experience. So we don't get to talk a lot about being cast members too much. This is a great experience for us.
Yeah.
I love that. So tell me a little bit. Tell me your Disney history. Like, did you guys were you Disney fans from young ages? Did it start later in life? Like, give us a little bit of your Disney backstories.
Well, on June 17th, 1955, not quite that far back. Actually, between us, more Disney history goes to Laura.
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up going to the parks, living up in Northern California. We did yearly trips down to Disneyland, and it's always been our happy place for our family. And as I got older, I started falling in love with the history and the details of Disneyland and Walt Disney. And then it actually, I think it was 8 years ago, like a couple weeks ago, was Cameron's first time to Disneyland with me.
Wow.
And is for your first time to Disneyland since you were a kid, right?
Right. I had gone when I was much, much younger. My folks are not the biggest theme parks enthusiasts, so we didn't go very often. But so my experience is majoritarily adult.
Okay.
As far as getting to the parks, though, we both finished up at college in Northern California, and we're actually performing in a production of Les Mis for a while there.
Wow, okay.
And we were trying to decide what we wanted to do with our lives. At this point, we're dating. Laura did not know that I was in the process of planning a very extravagant proposal. So as we were trying to plan future steps in our lives, she took the gumption to apply for Disney and was very, very frustrated at me that I was not applying as well. Little did she know I was seriously, our proposal is a whole different interview. It is a lot. I was in the throes of that. And I proposed. She said yes, thankfully. And immediately afterward, I applied.
Finally.
We ended up getting an interview one day apart. I then proceeded to forget my ID to fly down.
Remember, at that time we lived 6 hours away.
Yeah.
While applying to Disney and having our interview.
And they tell you have an interview, and it's like, in 2 days you have to go.
Yeah.
Okay. So I forgot my ID on the way to the airport, so I ended up missing my interview, which ended up being for the best. Because
family problems is what he told them.
Yes, it was. I'm my own family.
Yeah,
that's true.
So I ended up getting my interview pushed to the next day. That is one thing I've really enjoyed about Disney, is that they are fairly flexible when it comes to things like that. So moved to the next day, which was great because it gave both Laura and I the opportunity to be hired into stores, which is where we both started. We both worked in stores when we first came into Disney. Okay. A big thing at Disney is that you have opportunity to move around the parks into areas of interest and transfer as you get in. So it's really important just to kind of get your foot in the door. And we both started stores.
Yeah, I was in Fantasyland. When you work at Disney, you, at least in the stores and I think attractions, you work in certain lands. So I wasn't in Fantasyland. I started off in Tomorrowland.
I was in Fantasyland.
You were in Fantasyland. I started off in Tomorrowland. So I was trained and I worked in all of those stores in Tomorrowland.
Wow.
And then my goal was actually to work in guest relations at Disney. So I was working for that goal to work in guest relations. And then I learned about the Bippity Boppity Boutique. I didn't actually know that was a thing when I got hired in. And I learned all about it. And then my whole mind shift switched from guest relations to Bippity Boppity Boutique. So, and the boutique is actually under the umbrella of stores.
And then I found out about guest relations, and I'm a sucker for prestige, and I wanted to wear plaid. So I worked to get my way into guest relations, which is where I spent the majority of my time.
That's one of the things I love about both of your stories. And why I was excited to have this conversation with both of you is that I think when Sherri and I think of our dream jobs, in fact, we said this on Instagram Live just before, like both of our dream jobs at Disney are what you guys did. Like Sherri's like, put me in Bippity Boppity. I'm like, put me in plaid. Like those, that's like what we would want to do at Disney. And so I love that was your guys' experience. Now, how long were each of you with Disney?
I think I got just close to 2 years. Incidentally, I actually left Disney sooner than I was expecting, simply because I got a job opportunity directly related to working at Disney.
Yeah.
From leaving there. In fact, every job I've had almost after has been tertiarily connected to Disney in some fashion. It's been a great opportunity maker, but I was there for just about 2 years, and you were there.
I think I left about 6 months after you. So I think I was there for pretty much 2 years. Exactly.
That's awesome. One of the things I appreciate about you two is when we look at cast member videos online, sometimes people make videos like in the heat of the moment. So there's a lot of like why I left Disney or why I left Disney Cruise Line videos. But when I've heard each of you talk about your experience, and here's the thing, no doubt it wasn't all perfect, right? Let's be honest.
It was still a job.
It was still a job, yeah. But when you guys talk about Disney, you still love Disney. And so that's what I like. And just tell me a little bit, like, did working for Disney kill the magic or tarnish the magic at all? Or how do you feel about Disney today?
Okay, I'll go. When I started, I was actually scared of that because, like I said, I've been going to Disneyland since I was a little kid. Yep. And it didn't tarnish the magic. It changed it. Yeah. It made me more appreciative of the work that goes to making the magic. So especially when I was in the boutique, the making the magic was turned into the magic of Disney for me. And then now going into the parks, I can appreciate both sides of the guest side and the cast member side. And it's it didn't tarnish it, but it definitely changed it. And it is really cool to go in and it feels almost like home. And we still know a lot of cast members, and it's really cool to just like be walking down Main Street and be like, hey, I know you. And it's that to me is, we've lived here for almost 6 years, and that's still super bizarre to me that we can do
truth
that.
be told, me personally, on my second day employed for Disney, I had an experience, which I will not go into details here, that would be the thing to ruin the magic forever if it was going to.
Yeah.
It involved some backstage stuff that you don't normally get to see, and that's the thing that would have broken you. And I got past that, and I think that's the ultimate test, that if you truly care about the experience and you're fascinated with how something like the great experiment that is Disneyland even works, it's not something that really leaves you. You do get new perspective on it, but it's constantly there.
I love that. I saw somebody even in the chat before we started saying that she just retired from Disney after 30 years working at the parks. And so that's one of the things that always speaks to me about a company or about an experience working somewhere, is when you see people that have been there for a long time. And I know when we go to Disney, there are a lot of employees and a lot of cast members who have been there for a long time. And that to me says a lot, I think.
Right.
So, Sherri, any questions so far?
No, not yet.
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm not steamrolling past Sherri.
No, he has all the questions on his side, so I can sort of like lean over and try to read them. But
I want to talk about in the parks. There's some things that we wonder when you guys take a break, like during your breaks in the park, where do you go? What do you do? Because like, is there like a break room with a Dr. Pepper machine? Like, what does it look like?
There are mouse holes everywhere, my friend. So that is one of the interesting things. Disneyland, the first park, Disneyland, was the great experiment as far as making stuff work. Nobody had really done a park like this before. And so it was a learning experience to find out how you actually get an employership that's, large, to be part of the magic while there, but also not, visible when it comes to the actual minutia of working. That's why when you go to Disney World, and this is a very common fun fact, but when you're walking up Main Street USA in Disney World, you're actually walking on a slight incline, and the rest of the park is on the second floor, with the first floor being some tunnels that allow cast members to move about a little bit more easily. That didn't happen at Disneyland, nor would it really work, because the water tables are actually a lot higher here. So there are a lot of things tucked away that you wouldn't notice unless you're really looking for it. There'll be a door that looks like it's part of the scenery or something like that you can walk behind, and then just behind you will find rest areas, and oftentimes the restaurants in the park have back windows that are just for cast members that you can get access to. I still miss
Village House?
the Village House. The Village House window.
That's a Fantasyland cast member break area.
And there are a couple of restaurants backstage that are just for cast members. The Eat Ticket, which was Eat Ticket, which is a kind of bus your own plate kind of place. There is
which is, can we see where that they are?
Yeah, that's actually almost exactly where the new Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway is going to be. It's kind of in that footprint.
Okay.
Then there's the In-Between.
The In-Between which was my break area. It's the Tomorrowland kind of cafeteria style. It's a weird place when I try to describe it. It's behind Space Mountain and behind Plaza Inn.
And you forget it takes you 15-20 minutes to walk from Plaza to Space Mountain.
Yeah, when you walk around, but you can walk from
cast members
Plaza
make it in 30 seconds.
Right over to Space Mountain. And there's a cafeteria right there.
Yep. In fact, if you ever want to see it, this is a fun fact. Go on Soarin' Over the World or California. Either of them will work.
I think it's Soarin' Over the World is where I noticed it.
You can see it. But when they're coming down Main Street looking at the fireworks, if you look to the right, you can see the In-Between.
Yeah.
That's the restaurant. And there are a couple other windows. But yeah, there's like just little places kind of spread throughout the park, mostly on the outside of the berm, but a few of them actually buried in the park in a couple of places where you go.
And what's food like? Like, give me an example of like what is food in those cast member areas.
Well, the Starbucks was Starbucks.
Okay.
But most of them are going to be, they'll serve a couple of dishes, hot meals for the day that are kind of cafeteria style. Like that's what they have that day.
Salads, burgers.
Yeah. But I mean, just a good selection. There's going to be, and the ones that actually have windows to the stuff in the park. It's the same food they serve in the parks at a cast member rate. So some of the stuff you can buy in the parks, that's what cast members are eating too.
And Eat Ticket is mainly for the team center buildings, which
office
is
staff.
The office staff basically
Yep.
of Disneyland. And I did a couple trainings on that side, and I think it's Wednesdays is noodle day, and they have like these, you can customize like a bowl of soup noodles, like udon noodles.
Yeah.
And the line goes out the door every single Wednesday for that.
There are definitely in knowledge cast member located. Like there's on the west side of the park, there is a place that makes amazing milkshakes.
Yeah.
Just for cast members.
I've never been there, but yeah.
Wow.
So go to the parks on Wednesday on Noodle Day because all the cast members are super happy on the Noodle Day.
Yeah.
They come out just holding their bellies. Just,
Yeah, there's-
yeah. Give them that.
That's a pro tip. On Wednesday, I'm just going to go up and be like, hey, how were the noodles today? I just want to know.
They're going to go, who are you? What do you know?
How do you know about Noodle Day? Speaking of like the cast experience, is there a hierarchy when it comes to like the different jobs at the park? So is it like, it's like if you're a character performer, it's like don't talk to the character performers, or does like everybody kind of get along or interact with each other? How does that work?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, in that the amount of camaraderie just by being a cast member is pretty universal. We'll encounter people either down here or sometimes when we travel, we'll find somebody who is a cast member, and there's just that instant, oh great, you understand.
Yeah.
That being said, you've been to high school. There are jocks and nerds just like anywhere else that are categorized by the area they're in. However, it's never really a conflagratory thing. Really, it's you have team pride in being a plaid or in being from stores, but it's not. There's not really that confrontation to it.
I would say, I mean, in my experience, there wasn't much, like during your work day at the parks, there wasn't much interaction between stores. Maybe, I would say maybe the most between like stores and guest relations or, well, okay, now I take it back because now I'm thinking, it's like, okay, yeah, you do interact a little bit, but there's not, it's a working relationship. And I do want to add, especially when we were new, I felt a very welcoming presence from everyone that we passed because they know you're new. You know when there's a new cast member coming in, and it's just from all departments. It's very welcoming.
Nice.
And I've got to think that at just a machine as large as Disney, I mean, the fact that like new people are kind of always coming in, it's like that's just part of life there, right?
Yeah. Well, the herds, if you're ever in the park and you see a gaggle of 30 to 40 very well-dressed young people
with name tags,
that is usually a new hire group that is going through their traditions, which is the new hire training for Disney.
Yep.
And
they're usually looking out like this.
They're scared. It's great. My favorite thing to do is go ask them like lowball, super easy questions because it's really fun to see. Oh, I know this. Wait, 2-finger point. Go over there.
That's so funny. For those of you who are just joining us here on the live stream, thanks to, looks like we had 127 people in this right now. We're here with Cameron and Laura Jackson. Cameron and Laura are former Disney cast members, sharing with us about their experience, what it was like to work for the mouse. Super excited. So if you guys have questions for them, let us know. We might get to some of those in the comments here today. I want to know, you guys, because you just kind of touched on this, and this is one of the questions that Sherri and I have the most, is the cast members add so much magic to our experience when we go to the parks. What are ways for the rest of us who are not cast members when we go to the parks? What are ways to either show our appreciation? What are ways to make your day, your life better? Like, how can we return the magic to cast members that do so much for us?
That's where the plaid comes in. Yeah. The easiest and best way to physically show recognition that is of benefit to cast members is a guest compliment. You can go to City Hall or Chamber of Commerce in California Adventure, or if there are plaids out around in the park, many times the kiosks will have access to this as well. You can request to make a guest compliment, and you can just say, guest compliment, please. knowing the first name and the area and the time you interacted with a cast member.
Okay.
You can go and compliment them, being very specific on the thing that they were good about, that they helped you with, that they did. And you can be as vague as they were very, very nice to, as specific as I wanted to find this exact thing and they were able to do it. Guest compliments are tracked by Disney as a positive on a cast member's record. And it's really nice because a couple weeks later, you will actually get a card with the guest compliment written out on it that is presented to you, usually in front of some of your fellow cast members, like, hey, you did a fantastic job, and somebody took the time to actually tell you about it. And it's a great tangible way to actually compliment somebody that will benefit them in their cast member careers. Part of my transfer over into guest relations was having various guest compliments on record.
So many guest compliments.
There's an addictive quality to making magic for people that if you get into it, and I did, you can do it to the point of excess, and it's really easy to get compliments when you're doing your best to do stuff for people. But yeah, it is a great tangible way you can actually do something for a cast member.
And we would always, when we didn't live down here and we did our annual trips down here, we would make it a point at least once a trip to compliment, if not once a day on the trip, to compliment a cast member at City Hall. It's just makes you feel good, and you know that it means a lot to the cast members. And then I think just saying thank you for making magic or sharing your story with them too. I felt that a lot in the boutique. I had a lot of, because I had like long-term interactions with our guests. And so just hearing their stories and hearing how they appreciate, even hearing how they appreciate how a different cast member made their trip amazing so far was really, really good to hear. So when you're like in the throes of craziness of a work day, it's really good to hear that you're actually making a difference and making some magic.
There's a Disney policy when it comes to the importance of things when working. And this is public knowledge. It's something that many other companies now emulate. The 4 keys for Disney are safety, courtesy, show, and efficiency.
Wow.
I got the 4 keys down.
They do engrave it.
They drill it in you. So they are in ordered list: safety, courtesy, show, and efficiency. Safety is paramount above all other things. Courtesy and show are the things that come next. And efficiency is on the list, but it is less important than the rest of them. So don't feel that you are interrupting a cast member's time to actually tell them something positive. It is more important to do that than to get things done quickly.
I'm so glad you guys said that. So I have never heard about the guest compliment. Like I didn't know that was a thing.
Nope.
And so it's fun because now I'm thinking about in future trips, ways that we can do that. I love the idea of looking for, like, every day we're gonna look for one cast member who to us just like stands out that we can do that for. And that's one of the things like I'd love. I know our audience is primarily a Disney audience, and I would just love, especially as we get ready to reopen the parks, it's going to be crazy, not just for all of us, but remember what the cast members are experiencing as well, right? They have their own range of emotions, and then they have to deal with us. And so I would love it as they go back that they're getting more compliments. People are more aware of this. So I just want to challenge even our audience. You guys get ready to go back. Look for the cast members that you can fill out that card for. I'm actually excited to go back and look for that because I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, it's fun to look out for those cast members too.
And it genuinely is a pleasure for a guest relations cast member to take those. Very often, and this is when we talk about negatives, that in guest relations, one of the first things you do is deal with folks who aren't having the most magical day.
Totally.
And obviously your goal is to fix that. But day in, day out, if you're only dealing with extreme negativity, it can get a little taxing. So when somebody comes in and begins a conversation with, I want to say somebody did something nice for me, it's a relief for the person who even gets to take it. They're like, oh, wonderful. That's so good.
Yeah, the guest relations person is almost always just as excited as that cast member will be, because they're like, oh, okay, let me get out my paper. And they're really excited about it.
Yeah, I think that it's normally and this is true, I think, in any customer service or any customer-focused business, is that the majority of the response, I know in the hotel industry, the majority of customer feedback we got, it was always the negative people who would speak up and say something. And what that does is that makes the voices who speak up and say something positive even that much more important. And so I love the idea of doing that. Someone asked a question, and this is a good one. It wasn't on my list, so surprise. Cast member perks. Like, what are some of the perks of working for Disney?
I think one of the most important things to start with here is that, yes, cast members get some stuff, but no, they don't get anything for free. It's almost a trope at this point that folks, as soon as they find out you're working for Disney, hey, can you get us into the parks? Or
Yep.
So I caution, especially if you have cast members in your life, don't think because they get perks that is something that you're necessarily entitled to. That's our small caveat. But yes, Disney does try to take care of their cast members with some good stuff.
We, as a cast member, you get into the park for Parks, Disneyland, and DCA, and Disney World.
Yes.
Right? We got into Disney World too. You get in for free. Which was great for us when we first moved down here, and we were the only people that we knew
and broke
and had no money, and it was great to just kind of go into Disneyland and walk around, and so that was great. You do get a certain amount of tickets per year, excuse me, that you can, they're called sign-ins, that you can sign in your family and friends of choice,
right?
But it isn't allotted and it does not roll over. So that's, a lot of cast members are very picky about who they bring in.
Not to mention, everyone they bring in is a direct reflection of the cast member. And Disney is very particular about this. This is why you see cast members not giving away tickets or anything of the sort, or selling them, because that's a big no-no.
Well,
but yeah, they are very particular because anyone that a cast member brings into the park directly represents them. And if they do anything that would be against a rule for a cast member, it falls on the cast member, and a cast member will get in trouble for it. So most, I will say, the great majority of cast members will not take anyone in unless they're going with them, which is a commitment for a cast member. So don't assume their time. But also they need to be very hesitant because they only have a limited number of those, and they usually reserve them for family. I know that our big thing was taking our family when we could.
Definitely.
And and they do anniversary parties. Neither one of us stayed long enough. It's 5.
We got a 1 year.
No, but like the party,
parties, yes.
We got a ceremony where we got our little pin on our name tag. But every 5 years, I think it is, you get a party. They usually close down DCA, or it's after hours at DCA, and all the cast members and I think 1 or 2 guests of theirs get to go in, and they have bars, and you can ride the rides, and a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah. And there are little perks throughout the year. A tradition which is actually coming up very soon on Walt's birthday, usually, which is June 15th. They will serve his recipe of chili for cast members for free. There are little traditions like that they will keep up year round. We actually got very lucky when we came in because we were during the 60th. They did a lot of special stuff for cast members. They actually had a van roaming around that they would post around like, hey, the van is here. Go check it out. And if you could stop by the van, you would just literally just get a prize for knowing where the van was.
The van had they had magnets on it, and you would go up, and it was just driving around backstage. You go up, and your magnet would have either keep this magnet or like some cool prize. That was really cool.
Not to mention, there are a scattering of special events that are traditions. One of the very first ones we ever attended was Hauntopia, which is one of the coolest things ever. The Autopia attractions cast members put on a haunted Autopia. It's not super spooky, but just for cast members that after park hours, you go drive Autopia with the Autopia cast members dressed up in costume, and they serve big old pasta meal and just little fun stuff like that that they'll just do throughout the year.
I love that. I think that things like, to me, I never fault a company like Disney for giving like over the top perks to employees, because to me, the happiness of the people who are working in a place adds to the magic of the people who are attending a place. Right. And so like, I want cast members as happy and as benefited up as possible. And so I love to hear they do that stuff. Now you mentioned like free park tickets, and when you work somewhere for a certain number of hours a week, did you guys still find yourself going to the parks as like guests, or did it always feel like work when you went? What was that like for you?
We lived there for the first 6 months we were down here. It's interesting in a part you mentioned earlier how big it is. When you work at Disney, you are seeing the smallest subsection of it while you're actually working there. When you're doing something like guest relations, you do move around a little bit more, but it's very niche what you're doing. Both of us have no understanding of like the attractions cast members or of other aspects of entertainment that we never did. So it truly is a different experience than what you do while you're working there. And as soon as you are out of costume, it's a different thing. And honestly, we never had a problem going in, I don't think.
No, I think it was a little our situation too. When we moved down, we moved into a 2-bedroom apartment with someone else. And so Cameron and I had like basically where we are now was where we lived, like little teeny tiny space. So we wanted to get out as much as possible. And Disney's what we knew. And
that was our home.
That's where we went.
We slept in the room and lived at Disney.
Yeah, pretty much.
So favorite Disneyland attraction for each of you?
I am partial to Indiana Jones simply because I got the opportunity to be friends with Indiana Jones for a very short time at Disney, and that has a special place for me. And she rolls her eyes because when
it's been 6 years.
Yeah, and I'm still going to bring it up because before I got that opportunity for a very short show that Disney does yearly, we rode Indiana Jones so many times.
So many times.
So it is I can quote the entire everything to you, I think, still.
Yeah, I have a hard time with this question always. I would say Haunted Mansion. I'm a big Haunted Mansion fan, spook fan. Even though it's not the spookiest ride in the world, but.
Yep. Are you a fan of the Nightmare Before Christmas overlay, or do you like the traditional Haunted Mansion ride?
I like both.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like both. I'm also a really big fan of Pirates. I just love all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies too. So, and the addition of Johnny Depp was choice. So,
and that's not even counting Star Wars stuff, which
I can't even go.
Yeah,
can't even.
I mean,
I won't even count that.
I'm a pretty big fan myself.
I like to think you draw that on with Sharpie every morning.
Every morning, it's black and white, and I just today's gonna be red and blue.
I think to me, Pirates is my favorite, and it's interesting because every time we go on Pirates, Sherry's like, "Why is this your favorite ride?" Because you like Pirates, but to me, it's really weird. I couldn't tell you why it's my favorite because it's not like it's the most thrilling ride. It's not like it's the most adventurous ride. There's just, to me, there's something about the sounds and the smells and the experience that, like, when I'm in it, I am just completely Disney happy, and I can't explain it. You know what I mean? But yeah, your favorite ride there is
either Haunted Mansion or like Small World.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So all classic rides.
Yeah.
Any stories when you guys think of your time at Disney? Are there stories that stand out to you, like really good memories that it's like, you know what, when I think of Disney, this is my go-to like smile memory?
So there are a lot that some of my happiest memories are very private and directly related to the families that come in from a guest relations standpoint. Disney's an advocate for a lot of things, but one of the biggest things that they are, especially from a guest relations perspective, is taking care of our long-term family guests. There are some guests that more or less live at the parks for various reasons. Oftentimes they have some kind of special connection to Disney in some way that is impossible for us to understand. They may be people that are on the spectrum that are just love Disney wholeheartedly and have very special ways of interacting with the parks that we are in guest relations. We get the opportunity to participate in that. And those are very special and very private and never get to talk about them, but those are the ones that I store up a lot. I think that the biggest ones for us, I know for both of us, it probably Flashback. Performing in Flashback was a big one.
Yeah.
Tell us about Flashback. Give us for those of us who don't know what Flashback is, or maybe just have a surface level, what exactly is Flashback?
Okay, I'll go. Flashback is a show done by cast members, written by cast members, done by cast members. Basically, it is, and it's for charity. So all the tickets sold, it's usually performed at the Hyperion Theater, and all tickets sold go to a different charity every year. So basically what the show is the cast is divided up into 4 teams based off of where you work in the park. So there's the north, south, east, and west of the park. And each team makes their own. Is it about a 20-minute production,
Roughly.
original production,
Musical production,
and there's an overlaying theme every year. Ours was, oh man, I forgot what it was.
It was good.
It was whatever the marketing theme was that year for Disney.
It was the Diamond Celebration one, I think.
Yeah. But you have each team has their own director, producer, choreographers, like whole production team where they write it and they put on the show. And it's a competition, but not a competition. They do have categories that you can win, but they
Hold on, I think it paused for a second, you guys.
Yeah, we saw you drop just for a second. Are we back?
Are we back? All right, everybody, let us know in the chat. We're back.
We're back.
Cool.
We're back. Just assume we're back.
Okay.
It sounds like we're back. Okay.
So there's winners, but not really winners. They do have categories where you can win. Our team was the red team. We won a lot of categories, I must say. We were really good. But we won like best storytelling. There's like best choreography, things like that.
Best Indiana Jones. They're basic categories.
And best show overall. And you perform it for 2 nights, I think.
When we did it was 2 nights to 2 sold out Hyperion crowds.
Wow.
So,
and we both grew up in theater, and that was the biggest audience either one of us had ever performed in front of, and it was amazing. It was so cool.
it's also where we made, I think, our longest lasting connections in the parks.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw friends from all aspects of it, but our team happened to be the area of stores that we were working in and guest relations. And this was when I was transferring from stores to guest relations. So the people we connected, in fact, just before hopping on this call, I was doing a podcast with somebody we met doing that show. Yeah. It's one of those things that you just kind of build those relationships in.
If any of you are theater people, you know the bond that you create with other theater people when doing a show. And we definitely created that bond. I was actually in December, went to Hawaii, and I was in the wedding of my dance partner in in Flashback. So we've definitely made lifelong friends, and it's for sure a highlight of our Disney career.
That's one of the things I've noticed, like even in like reading the chat as we've been on here today, it feels like there is, and here's how I'm going to relate it. It's going to be a strange connection. When you live in Alaska, there is a weird connection. Whenever you travel anywhere in the world and you meet someone from Alaska, there is an instant bond of like, we have to be friends. There's not another option. And to me, it's like the Disney community, like having an experience with other Disney cast members. It feels like there's probably this connection there, this bond there that you have. And so I'm wondering, when you think about your time at Disney, someone asked the question, and I don't necessarily know totally what this means. What was the most magical moment you got to gift a family? Tell me, first of all, what does that mean? What is gifting a family a magical moment? What is that? Can you even talk about that?
Yes.
To an extent. So Disney is, they really encourage making magic when applicable. If you have the opportunity to make somebody's day better, whether that costs Disney a little bit of money to get something for them, or it requires a little bit more time of a cast member to go away, it's important that you actually do your job, but there is that flexibility that if situation arises, take care of the guest first. And there are numerous times when we got to go wander out with, if we encountered a family that was having a bad day or a good day or any type of reason that we felt so led. I know one of my favorite things when I was working in stores was if I was in the Mad Hatter, if it was convenient for the attractions cast member, and that was the key. Every once in a while, somebody was getting a special hat for a special event, getting something embroidered on it. Maybe walk them around and say they had been invited to a very special tea party because they had been, and they get to go ride Alice right away.
Wow.
Or I know you get to do pixie dust is a very big conversation in our house.
We still have glitter in the house.
There's so
it's
much.
been so long since I worked at the Bippy Boppy Boutique. And I actually have that, like I mentioned earlier, I had a lot of long-term interactions with my guests. Working in the boutique, if people don't know, when you are a fairy godmother in training, you're turning little girls and boys into princesses and knights and princes and
whatever manner of royalty they like.
Whatever, yes. You by doing their hair and their makeup and telling stories and painting their nails, and the last thing you do is just rain down glitter on them, pixie dust, but it's glitter.
The finest, most intricate grain,
fine glitter,
pixie dust.
But I've had so many magical moments with my guests because, like I said, I had those long-term interactions so I could learn their stories. And one of my favorite things to ask was why they were visiting Disneyland, especially if it was their first. And one story that stands out to me anytime I get this question asked is we had two little girls and two sisters, and they were sitting next to each other. And I asked them, and they were a little bit hesitant to answer why they were visiting Disneyland, and they were there with their aunt. And their aunt said, "You can tell her, it's okay." And they then told me that they were supposed to be there with their aunt and their mom. And their mom was in the military, and she got an early deployment, so she couldn't go to the parks with them. Wow. And one thing I loved about working for Disney is we had the flexibility to do what we could to make these magical moments. So part of their package, the little girl's package, was to get pictures taken in our studio, and you get like a set of 5 photos or something like that. And what I did was I went into our photo studio and told our PhotoPass people, these little girls, they need a second pack to send to their moms. So they were like, oh yeah, they were in like instantly. I told them the story and they're like, we're doing this. And so all they did was print out a second pack of pictures. And so we presented the little girls with their pack of pictures, and we presented them with the second one. And we said, this is for you to send over to your mom while she's deployed so she can see how beautiful you girls are. And the aunt was just a blubbering mess in the corner. And the little girls were so excited that they got to share that moment. And again, it didn't cost Disney much. It was really exciting for us to do. And we had a lot of opportunities like that in the boutique because we learned their stories.
And you brought up a very important thing that not only was it really fun for a cast member to make magic, but as soon as you could involve other departments and cast members, it's because it was almost unilaterally like, oh yeah, we get to do this. It's going to be real fun.
Let's do it. It's like an adventure every time.
That to me is when people talk about Disney magic, like that is such a perfect example of what Disney magic is, because the reality is that Disney didn't have to do that, and nobody would fault them if they didn't, right? But authorizing the cast members to go above and beyond to make a specific memory and a specific moment even more magical is I love that so much. We took our niece to the Bippity Boppity at Disneyland when we took her there for Christmas in 2016 or 17. And
I don't remember.
well, and Laura, I actually was wondering, I was like, wait a second, Laura,
I think I might have been working there.
But it was the kind of thing that, and again, we don't have kids, and so this was our first experience taking like a kid to Disneyland, and just to watch how in a park with thousands of people, that in a moment like she was the focus. You would have thought that there were no other kids in the park.
She was 9 at the time, and it was so much fun. Like she ate it up.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, for her cast member, there were no other kids in the park at that moment.
Right.
That's exactly right. And that's so amazing to me that there are those kind of opportunities. I do have a pixie dust question, Laura.
Good. We have many answers.
This is a question that we get from a lot of people, and I'm going to blame it on a lot of people when the reality is we want to know the answer. Hypothetically speaking, let's say there was a couple of adults who were in the park, because I've heard they sometimes do this on the cruise ship, but I don't know if it's true.
The answer is yes before you get to it.
I know.
Can an adult be pixie dusted at Bippity Boppity?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
You can go in and you can ask to just go in and say, can I get some pixie dust? That fairy godmother in training will be like, oh yeah, come here. And they do the whole thing, the whole rhyme and everything. It's great. And if you have a birthday button or any button really, and you ask to be pixie dusted, and you can ask them to pixie dust your button too. And They'll spray the hairspray because it's some strong.
It's blue.
They'll spray the hairspray. They'll pixie dust it, and it'll glue right onto that button, and you'll have a fancy, sparkly button.
Yeah, and if you ask now, do take the caveat that if things are absolute chaos in there, they may not be able to at that moment. Be patient. But they're always happy. It's really fun, and in fact, if it's a little bit slower, I know some of the fairy godmothers in training will just go out and like bands of raiders in the dystopia wasteland and try to pixie dust everyone.
We would, yeah. If we had no more appointments for the day and we were all still there and the boutique was spotless besides all the pixie dust, we would all go out with our wands and just, you want some pixie dust?
One of our favorite things to do when we go back to the park, especially with friends now, if we know anyone that is fairy godmother in training there, we occasionally can give a little wink and a nudge of not just pixie dust them, annihilate them.
Yeah. Put all the pixie dust you have on them.
They will glitter for weeks.
I someone with 2 wands.
Mm-hmm. I remember when our niece got that we found glitter for like the rest of the trip because it's not like normal glitter. It's got to be like
finding it like in random places on our face or on our clothes, or we were just like, this wasn't even. We weren't even wearing this. Like, what happened?
It's like sand at the beach. It just gets in everything.
It's just in the air.
Totally. So we've all seen a lot of changes at Disney. We've all seen a lot of expansions. We've seen the parks grow. And people have different feelings about when Disney changes something in a park, right? Are there any things that you've seen Disney change, maybe that you were critical of, or that you feel critical of, or that, like, how do you feel when Disney announces, hey, this is going away and now it's going to be the Marvel campus, or we're going to rebrand? Like, how do you feel about those kind of changes?
I feel like is a bit of a canned answer, but it's also my favorite one. When Disney opened in 1955, Sleeping Beauty's castle was a giant billboard. The movie had not come out yet that the castle was based on, intentionally to advertise for the next big thing. The folks who will say something like, Walt would be rolling over in his grave over this. No, he wouldn't. Walt was very concerned with what he could do next and what was amazing in the world of storytelling. There was almost no sense of nostalgia with him other than the conceptual nostalgia that comes from things like Main Street or the sort. Keeping moving forward was not just a mantra. It was something he firmly believed in. So the idea of acquiring third-party excellent storytelling things is not a new thing. It's something he worked on. Some of his earliest animations with the crossover to live action were Alice in Wonderland stories. Mm-hmm. He was a fan of pulling these amazing Joseph Campbellian story structure things together, and if they represented the core of what the Disney company was supposed to be representing, by all means. As far as adjusting old things to make them new, I have a great faith in the many people who are looking at what is changing to decide if it's going to be the best for the most people. While there is a lot of nostalgia associated with things like even Bugs Land, which is a newer creation, or the Big Thunder Ranch, which closed for Star Wars. It's sad to see those things go, but the things that are coming are just amazing. Galaxy's Edge is hands down the coolest thing at Disney right now. It's so good. But in order for that to work, you have to let the past die. Kill it if you have to. Yeah. Not that I would bring up that quote for any particular reason.
We're gonna have that. We're gonna have it on a T-shirt. Kill it if you have to.
That's right. It is personally sad to see things like that go, especially if you have good memories with it. But yeah, the keep moving forward is embodied in making some of those changes.
Yeah, and I think that we develop connections and nostalgia with areas, right? But kind of forget because we have such great experiences or memories on certain rides or certain areas and certain lands. And so when we watch those go away, there's this death that we feel, I think, this loss.
Right. And perfect example of that is Tower of Terror. Tower of Terror was and is one of my absolute favorite attractions because I love the Twilight Zone. I grew up the nerdy little kid that was watching all the original Twilight Zones. So it spoke to me in a fantastic way. When they changed that over to Galaxy's Edge, or not Galaxy's Edge, to Mission Breakout, of course, I felt a sadness of that going away. However, you have to look at it from the perspective of these kids that are coming in the park looking for an experience of what to relate to. Twilight Zone isn't going to be it for them. What is going to be it is Star-Lord and Groot. that is their new memory association with it, and it's relevant to them. So,
and it's a cool ride.
It's a great,
it's a good
ride. Yeah.
And that's what most people, and with that ride especially, I think felt like this loss until they ride it, and they're like, "Oh, okay, I get it." You know what I mean? Like I get it now. Now I want to ask you guys a question. We haven't talked about this, but you guys have gone on a Disney cruise, right? Most of our audience finds us through Disney cruise stuff. Now, your background with Disney, you're parks people. And so I want to know, what was your Disney cruise experience like? What were your thoughts? Was it a positive one, a negative one? Would you do it again? I'm so curious to hear your Disney cruise experience.
Hated it. Just kidding. No.
No. Hey, everybody, thanks for watching. Gotta go.
No, it was, Cameron knows that I am now obsessed. I think it was Cameron and I and my mom and her husband we do an annual trip, a big trip every year. And that was our trip. And we don't normally repeat, but this year we were going to repeat until it got canceled. But I think we all got obsessed. It's just a whole different world. And we've cruised on other cruise lines before. Okay. And to be honest, going into it, I was like, why would you pay so much more
to not have a casino?
To not have a casino and like not, and to have kids running around. But then we went on it, and now we're like, yeah, no, we're gonna only do Disney. I mean, we'll probably still cruise other cruise lines too, but
preferentially,
we will prefer Disney from now on. It was, I didn't notice. It didn't. How do I say it? It's like I didn't feel children were everywhere. Like that's what I expected going into it, because it's Disney, and I expected children to just be everywhere, and it was not like that at all. And it was magical and wonderful. We did the spa, and it was great. I loved it.
It struck me while we were on it, the same idea of the founding of Disney land. Lillian was extremely critical of Walt wanting to open a theme park because they were gross. She said, "Why would you want one of those disgusting places?" And Walt's response is, "Well, mine won't be." And I feel like cruises, especially pre-Disney, had that kind of icky reputation to them. And the same founding principle of the theme parks for Disneyland was very much carried over into the cruises, is that it's not like other cruises when it comes to care. I mean, it's just over the top. And the amount of just basic stuff that is included, I feel like with other cruises, it's a little bit more, you get on it and then you can pay for some of the extra stuff if you want to have the level of experience. The amount of stuff that's just included on a Disney cruise, just the entertainment value, the food, oh my goodness, the food, but all of that stuff that's just intrinsically an assumption of you getting a ticket on board is at a much higher level.
Yeah. And very similar to how we feel about Disneyland and Disney World is that it was just a whole different world. The ocean and I are best friends. So that was another level for me, just being out in the middle of the ocean. But you didn't care about anything while you're on it. And it was the best.
I feel like it's all the Disney magic without the Disney parks chaos.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, exactly. That's it.
So I do have one question before we start to kind of wrap things up. Cameron,
you've got another 6 hours. I mean, what are you up to?
Yeah, let's just keep going. We're going to keep it going. You mentioned something as we were chatting before this live stream, and I took it as a bit of a challenge because I so want to know, as your job with the Plaid, you said you had to know at least 2 facts about kind of everything in Disneyland, right? So here we go.
Tell us everything you know.
I'm just going to
couple of muscles I haven't flexed in a while.
We're going to do everything. I only have a couple things that I want to know a couple facts on. Number one, Pirates, because it's my favorite. It has my heart. Tell me something about Pirates that you as a VIP Plaid had to know.
All right, we'll start easy and we'll go harder and see how much you can keep up.
Okay.
The easy ones, some of the old and new in the attraction. First of all, old. Everyone talks about the various bones and detritus that are on the attraction and how there are still actually bones all on the attraction. That's not myth. There is a headboard that does have a real human skull still on it. There were many, many more at the time the attraction opened up, which have since been cleaned up quite a bit. However, the nature of the build for that structure meant that the skull cannot be removed. So that is one actual piece of human remain that is intentionally still there, not talking about the unintentional ones. And as for the new, it was covered in the recent documentaries, which, by the way, I love those because it's taking away half of the ammo for all plaids as far as fun facts that are in the parks. The treasure chest, as you're going through the treasure room on the left side, just before you leave the room, is the treasure chest from the first Pirates film.
I told you that one.
Yeah, you were the first one to tell me that. Now on to a little bit of the harder stuff. It has a relationship to Haunted Mansion in that when you're going down the drops near the beginning,
I told you this one too.
yes, you did, there is a system of what appears to be scraggly tree limbs or something coming out of the roof. You can also see them on Haunted Mansion when you were leaving the exit line. Those are real tree roots from the real trees that are above it that when they were hollowing out for the attractions, it started on Haunted Mansion, but when they're hollowing it out, they said, that's cool, leave it. So what looks like really scraggly, spooky trees in the Haunted Mansion attraction and what is coming out of the vents at the top of Pirates is a real living tree. That is a real thing that is actually there.
Wow.
Goodness, let's see, what are some of the other fun ones? So that's at least a couple for Pirates.
I'm already impressed. Like, if you just stopped right there, I'd be like, wow, that's the smartest guy I know. Laura, what is it like going to the park with him? Like, are you ever just like, shut up? I know about the skull. Stop.
Standing rule that she can shut me up at any time.
Yes, that is. Although, as you heard, a lot of those things he did get from me.
Yeah, she did. She did a lot of them.
Yes.
Oh, here's my favorite one from Pirates. Before we move on to the next one,
Yes.
the dog. I don't know how common this is, but the dog. And the last scene, they're trying to whistle to lure the keys.
Yes.
That's not that dog's first attraction. That dog first made an appearance in the Carousel of Progress. That is the dog from the Carousel of Progress. There's a great big beautiful tomorrow. That dog, that's one of the animatronic dogs from that they moved over to Pirates.
Crazy. Did not know that.
Aubrey's over here nodding her head. She's like,
She knew that one. She knew that one. So
Bring it on. I love this because it's not something I get to do often because I go with Laura or other people that are like, yes, we know, you've told me.
they just like keep feeding you churros and Dole Whips to keep you like eating so you don't have to
stop talking. Yeah.
Yeah. Sherri, what's one thing of Disney that you want to know something about?
I always want to know what's on the second floor of the Main Street buildings.
Okay, that is a fun one. So there's a lot of stuff. And it really depends where on Main Street you are. It uses a lot of forced perspective on Main Street. So as you're looking down Main Street, it looks much longer than it actually is. And when you're looking back up Main Street towards the exit, it looks much shorter than it is, very intentionally using the forced perspective of building heights. So as you move down Main Street, the second stories get less and less prominent to when you're almost at the end, it's almost half of a story on the buildings near the end. And when you go into the buildings, you can actually see there's nothing on the second story. It just opens up to it. And the illusion is created on the outside, but is not really present on the inside. However, that is not always true, especially at the beginning of Main Street. There are full-size buildings with second stories. One of the most famous examples, of course, is above the firehouse is Walt's apartment, which is phenomenal. We had the experience to go up there. The thing that made it for me is that especially Lillian loved Victorian decor. And one of the things was a coffee and tea bar that's built into the wall. And a couple of the cups had something very interesting. It had a little lip on them. And I was curious about it. It's gentlemen from the Victorian era would use coffee or tea cups with a lip, almost like a Starbucks cup, to keep their mustaches clean from the liquid, like built into like the porcelain. And that's the part that was real for me. I was like, oh, it's real. He's right there. But aside from that, there are a couple of guest relations or HR offices actually just above the Lincoln Theater and above the hat shop that are right there, which have access to windows to look down. It's a really great view of Main Street from up there. Some of those offices up there, I'm very jealous of of their view. But yeah, so and as you move further down the street, they get smaller and smaller. Some of them are storage spaces that have a small access ladder, usually backstage, and then some of them just are nothing by the time you get to the end.
Okay.
I just want to, I need to say this. If we're ever on a cruise together, Sherri and I call dibs on Cameron and Lauren being on our team. Like none of you guys get them on the Disney trivia. Nobody else gets access. We called dibs first.
Correct.
So sorry, everybody else. We're going to win the medal finally.
Oh, here's a quick pop quiz back since we're talking about Main Street. What do Main Street USA and Tomorrowland have in common?
What?
By their date, when they're set. This is one of my favorite Disney facts.
What?
Main Street USA is set in a very particular date and year. Tomorrowland was originally set for a very particular date and year in the future. What do they have in common?
Is it the same day of the year, just like X number of years apart?
Not the same day, but a certain increment of years apart, very intentionally.
55 years apart.
No.
550 years apart.
I'm not quite. I'm trying to remember the exact dates. So the date that Tomorrowland was originally set to be in the future of is now in the past. However, the parallel between them was Main Street USA was set on a date in, I believe, 1901. And the date in the future, I don't quote me on this, I think it was 1986 was the original date for the future of Tomorrowland. And it was the previous time and the next time that Halley's Comet was passing.
Wow.
That's how they did the Tomorrowland comparison.
Wow.
That's a deep dive. I'm very impressed by that one. And the nice thing is that could be totally fake, and you just made it up, and none of us would know.
Wow, that's amazing.
I'm very impressed by Halley's Comets.
Yup. Oh, they're frozen.
I don't know if you can still hear us, but you look a little frozen on our end.
Let it go.
Let it go.
Let it go.
Let it go.
No, what is it?
We're doing a show for ourselves. We don't know if you can actually hear us right now.
Follow you guys. Where can they find you if they want to say that?
So we just heard, where can you find us? I think you might be a little bit frozen, guys. Sorry.
I don't know if they're frozen or are we frozen?
Who's frozen? Are we frozen? Is Idina Menzel frozen?
I don't know.
If you can still see us, hi. We can't hear you. Sorry.
Hold on.
Weird.
Oh.
Oh my.
Wait.
Oh,
What is happening? Are we back?
Yes, we can hear you. Wow, that was weird.
That was. Here's what I'll say. The last thing we heard was one heck of a rendition of "Let It Go." And honestly, if that was how this ended, I would have been perfectly happy with it. But I'm glad everybody did not leave. Holy cow! Sorry about that. What I was trying to say before the Frozen rendition was, for our audience who might be just discovering you guys for the first time, finding you, where can they connect with you guys? I know YouTube, Instagram, other places. Let us know where people can find you and connect with you guys.
I have a YouTube channel that is fairly new-ish. You can just find me on YouTube. Just search Laura Jackson, and I am there. I do weekly vlogs and our life down here in Southern California. I'm also on Instagram as Mrs._Lou, Lou, Jackson, Jaxn.
And I can be found very similarly on social medias at Mr. Mr_Cam Jackson, CAMJAXN. You can also find my work on my Ko-fi. I think it's pronounced Ko-fi or coffee. I don't really know. But Ko-fi.com / Mr. Cam Jackson, the same way it is for social. So MR_CAMJAXN. I'm a writer and a poet, and you can see some of my work up there.
And all of you guys know, all of those links are actually in the video description down below. Sherri and I would really love it. You guys go subscribe to Laura's YouTube channel. Go follow them on Instagram. We have only gotten connected to them, I mean, honestly, in a fairly short period of time, right? But we have absolutely loved getting to connect with you guys. We really appreciate, and I think I said this earlier, we appreciate that even as former cast members, when you guys talk about Disney, the visual that you paint of Disney is one that just adds to our love of Disney. So thanks for being willing to share some of your stories. Thanks for willing to answer our questions today. And you guys, no live stream next week because we're going to be in an RV around Alaska. And so
jealous. It's gonna be fun.
And I don't know if we can talk about this. Can we talk about the secret thing coming up for you guys? Where you?
Oh yeah, that's fine. Actually, before
Okay.
we do, I think we're gonna try to bring on one extra
Because
guest.
he's
If you
being
don't mind.
like,
Come on, bud.
there we go.
There it is.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
That's
So-
Odin.
So earlier, you guys talked about you guys do one big trip a year. The
Yes.
Disney cruise this year got canceled,
Yes.
which stinks, and I'm sorry. But the upside is where are you guys going?
We're going to Alaska.
It's the little state up north.
Yes.
Little state.
It's like it's like the
I love the offense. Oh, I'm sorry. That little state up north.
tiny-
How dare you? Largest state in the union. How dare you?
No, it's fine. We don't want people to know how wonderful it is. It's like keep tell them how cold it is. So that's true. Just so you guys know, confession, and Auburn is learning this. Every person who visits us in Alaska, we essentially spend the whole
So when are
trip
you moving
trying to get them to
here?
move here. So just get ready. Like it will happen. But you guys will get to see them in our vlogs in just a couple of weeks, which I am so excited about you guys getting here. So excited you guys getting to experience our state of Alaska. So that's going to be a ton of fun. Friends, thanks for being with us today. We loved having you guys as guests.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
Heck yes. And everybody, thanks for watching. Give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you have not. And remember, go subscribe to Laura on YouTube. Go follow them on Instagram. All of the links are in the video description down below. And we'll see you guys in a couple weeks for our next YouTube Live. Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Bye.